Hello, I had some problems.
Okay, no worries. I don't know if the other folks are having issues too, because no one else is on. Wait, let me see if my. It's not, the video's not, it's not letting me do the video.
Um,
Just
I,
my name keeps on showing up. That's it. When I touch the video thing, it's just my name.
it should.
Oh, here we go.
There you go.
Oh, wait, I gotta change this one. Let me just change my background.
Promote to panelists. Okay, Anna's here.
I believe Erica's gonna be on.
She might be a little late.
Oh yeah, because she said she had a car emergency. And
Hmm.
then Lisette said she was going to be late too because she had already a prize. Since we're not having it on the day of, she already
Hmm.
had something scheduled. So I think it might just. Oh no, Bridget said she's coming.
Sure.
Brigitte said she was coming.
Is Bridget coming?
Yeah, she had said she was coming. Yeah, she
Okay.
said she was available. But let's see. Anna, you on?
I am. I'm finishing dinner and working out an issue with my computer. So I'm going to
Mhm.
log in
Okay.
through my computer when that's up and running. And we'll put the camera on when I'm not eating anymore.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So do you think we should just get started? Since
Sure.
it's 34?
We're already recording.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I think we should just get started in case there's anyone out there. I don't know, you know.
We do have one attendee in the
Oh, yeah, we
gallery.
do. Okay, good. Because I didn't think we were going to get any attendees since we changed it. But okay. So yeah, why don't we get started? So I can just start the meeting?
Hmm.
Okay. Um, so I'd like to start the meeting for the Community Safety and Social Justice Committee at 6:35 p.m. Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2025 extended through June 30th, 2027, give the ability of public bodies to meet in a fully remote or hybrid manner. Members of the public who wish to access the meeting may do so via Zoom or by telephone. I'm also going to go over the agenda for everyone. So it's going to be the welcome announcements and then minutes, member reports, public comment, Crescent DI updates, resident oversight board, GOL update, ICE update, sanctuary city bylaw, racist flyer response, youth empowerment, center funds and location, town council meeting follow-up, membership co-chair nomination vote, creating subcommittees, public comment, and our second public comment, and then items not anticipated. So, right now, want to, you know, obviously acknowledge that we only have one of our members here. Anna, can you hear me
I
as
can.
we can hear you? Okay, great. And then Camille, you can hear me as I can hear you. And Camille's our liaison, as always, Crest liaison for our committee. So first will be announcements. Any announcements?
Yeah, I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to let folks know that tomorrow at 5:30 in Sweetser Park, there's going to be a rally that Amherst for the People is holding to protest the recent more ICE killings that have happened and to call for accountability.
Yeah. Yeah, and
And so that'll be
I was actually gonna talk about that too. So hopefully, everyone and anyone that can attend, please attend, because that will be a critical meeting, especially since, as you know, CSSJC joined Human Rights Commission as well as the Town Council to talk to Chief Ting and Paul Bachman around the protections of our residents from
exactly.
ICE. And so, please come out if you can.
Absolutely. And Luce will be there also and raising some money to keep supporting that work um, and speaking to that.
Yeah, great. Um, and so now we're going to do, there is one, like we're going to go to the minutes. And I saw that there was one June 10th, but we're going to have to table that until the end to see if we have a quorum. And I don't know if we're going to end up having a quorum. I think, right? Because if Bridget, Lisette, Erica, yeah, five of us, yeah, that would be a quorum. So I think we could do the minutes at the end of the meeting. Okay. So if I forget, you all remind me to revisit the minutes at the end. So now we'll go to any member reports. I mean, the only
Um,
thing, and we'll, oh, go ahead, Anna. Anna, did you have anything to say? Hello?
can you hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Hello? Hello?
Yeah, now we can hear you.
Hello?
We can hear you now.
We can hear you. Can you hear us?
Oh,
Hello? I don't think she can hear us.
She's
Anna?
back muted.
Yeah, there might be something going on.
sorry, I think I lost connection for a minute.
Yeah,
Can you hear
because
me?
we could
Okay.
hear you, but you couldn't hear us.
Yeah, exactly. Um, yeah, I just wanted to check in. I was able to check in with Jill Brevick, who had a couple of updates on some things that are relating to work that we've been doing.
Hmm.
Um, one is relating to the town council meeting,
Hmm.
and just that she had wanted to update that she has followed up and submitted questions to the town manager and chief of police um, on things that hadn't been addressed. So we're still waiting for a response on that. Um, sorry, trying to pull up the other updates that she had. Um, actually, you know what? And some of it, maybe some of this can also come into the conversation about subcommittees because some of it's related to the specific things that we're working on. Mm,
Okay. Yeah, and I
yeah.
mean, I'll talk about it and we'll talk about it more when we go get into more of our agenda items. But yeah, for me, it was some of the same thing, trying to follow up with Counselor Mandy Joe to get more information on those questions, touch base with Human Rights Commission, who submitted questions to the town manager, which were questions that he said that he would get more information on in regards to ICE.
Right.
And then also I, asked Paul Bockelman for information on the Youth Empowerment Committee, but he didn't get me any information.
Okay.
So those are some of the things that I was working on
Yeah. Oh, and
from.
so the two other things is again just as sort of updates on things that are happening on town council that have to do with the work that we're doing. Is that Jill is actively working on that sort of early case for increasing CREST funding for the next budget cycle that comes through. So that's something that when we talk about subcommittees, maybe we can talk about how to support her in that. And that the other two things that she's looking at, introducing bylaws to ban consent searches and pretextual stops, and would love our help and support in doing that.
Okay, great. All right. So we can go into our first public comment. Um, during public comment period, the chair will recognize members of the public. When called on, please identify yourself by stating your name, preferred pronouns, and if you want, you can say where you live. Um, da, 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 da. Oh, the CSSJC will not engage in dialogue or comment on a matter raised during public comment. So I see that we have three attendees. Not sure if any of them want to make a public comment right now. Okay, we'll move on, but obviously, just so the attendees know that we will have another public comment at the end of our meeting in case anyone wants to stick around in order to make a public comment at the end. Um, so right now we have CRES and DEI updates. From what I know, there isn't going to be anyone from DEI, right, Camille? because since he wasn't not regularly scheduled. So what I'll do is I'll just read some of the DI things from the newsletter. So, Camila, are you able to provide a update for us in regards to CREST?
Sure.
Okay.
In the packet is the newsletter. Just to let folks know, as you know, that we lost our program manager, Daniel Garcia. But thankfully, he is now the new senior services director. So he's still in the building. Um, if we had to lose him, I am just really proud and happy that he was made the senior services director, um, because we work so well collaboratively, and we've already talked about things that we can do to um, work CREST, the senior center, DEI, and public health, and those of us that are in the building to do more collaborative work together, to work with our unhoused, our BIPOC community, etc. And I think this is a really good move. I'm sad to lose him. And as you know, we still are at 6 responders, myself and Angel. So it's been, oh, excuse me, a really tough month as finishing out the FY 26 budget. So there was a lot of work that had to be done. Um, and now, so one of the things that was created in June was um, we started doing what we call walking outreach or the pull-up program, and it has been phenomenal. What it is the CREST responders will go to different areas, Groff Park, downtown, to the different businesses, and we have a wagon, and what we put in is some waters, sometimes some snacks, and we just meet people where they are at, and it's really gone well. We bring our newsletter and handouts and just talk to people about what Crest is and what Crest does. So it's been phenomenal for really getting out in the community and seeing people and being able to talk to people and not have to worry about, them thinking that we're anything but what we are, Crest. At first, it was interesting because people were worried when we'd get out of the car, thinking that we were the police or thinking that we were ICE. So it is a really hard thing for folks that are out there. So this has been a wonderful program, and the responders have really, they've taken to it because meeting people out in public in their natural environment has been so beneficial for us and the community. This Friday will be the Veterans Breakfast. There was only one last month and one this month due to the holidays. And now, because we lost our funding through the Department of Public Health grant, the Vet Breakfast will now be funded by the Senior Center through June, excuse me, of next year. So we're really pleased with that. Cress also participated in the Pride Parade. We have a banner. We were also out at Race Amity Day and the Youth Hero Awards. And also, we've been outreach to like Hampshire College. And the calls for dispatch have been steadily increasing, mostly well-being checks. As I was leaving today, we received a call from Highland Valley about one of their seniors that had not opened the door and no one spoken to them. And they have a protocol that if they don't speak to them or see them within like a day or two, they would have called the police, but now they call Crest. So Crest goes out, checks on the person, lays eyes on them, finds out if they have any needs, if anything's missing. Um, so things have definitely taken an upswing.
Any questions? Oh, and before that, I saw that Erica has joined us. Erica, just making sure you can hear us and we can hear you. Okay, perfect.
Thank you. Sorry, I'm late.
Oh no, no worries. You know, life happens.
Cars happen.
Yeah, I know that. Um, any questions for Camille? So I have some questions. Well, first I want to say, Camille, thank you so much for obviously assisting us today. I know that, you were sick and recovering and I know there was, it's just been a lot. That's why we didn't have the meeting last week, but I'm happy you all were able to be flexible so that we can have it this week because I think it's important for the community, and I know they always want to make sure that CSSJC is having, its meetings on a monthly basis. So thank you, first and foremost. Second, thank you too for inviting us to take part in Pride. I know I wasn't able to take advantage of that opportunity just because, I was away for the weekend. Um, but obviously, thank you because obviously there's times when we can and we
Anna.
will participate. Mhm.
I just wanted you to know that Anna and her sons were there and also made it to the picture in the Crest newsletter. So,
Yay. Awesome. That's
Oh, I
great.
didn't see
So
that.
yeah, thank you.
I'll look.
Definitely. That's great. Now I did want to kind of talk a little bit about the numbers. So yeah, I mean, I see that the numbers are kind of increasing a little bit. I mean, I understand that this is the summer. I'm assuming, yeah, because this month it was, well, the month of May was like
mhm,
39 calls. Um, so, I mean, are you seeing kind of like a difference in terms of dispatch? Because for me, I still feel that that's concerning, the numbers, because I want to see a lot more numbers coming in from
mhm,
dispatch for you all. Again, you're doing great work in terms of all the assistance you're providing, but I know my focus is on making sure that dispatch is doing what they need to do, which is ensuring that when someone calls 911 and they describe what their crisis is, that if it doesn't include violence, they should be contacting CRESS. That is what we're looking for. So, can you give us an idea of, I mean, is there any way to find out? I guess you all got 7 calls in May. Is there any way to find out whether in May there were other calls that went into UMPD that could have gone to Crest? Because I think maybe that's what needs to be happening is like, you all need to start doing an assessment, right? So dispatch was put in place finally in
mhm,
January, right? So January to now, we're in July. An assessment needs to be made in terms of, okay, because I know they have all the logs in terms of the
mhm.
calls that came in. And so, okay, what calls came in? And then really a discussion. Okay, well, this call over here, why were we not called? And why was Popo, let me say no, let me not say that, but police
Amherst
called
Police.
and
So,
stuff. Amherst police
department.
called.
So I will just
So
let you know that I have a meeting and it's going to be scheduled to be, I think, I don't know if it's going to be bi-weekly, but meeting with the town manager, the chief of police, and the director of the Emergency Communications Center. So
mhm.
we met, um, and like my days are so okay, we met last week. I had to sit there and think. We met last week and just discussed the calls that have come in since January and how the numbers have increased. Again, if this is May, so next month you will see June and July. And we have been getting multiple calls now a week. So it is no longer like one call once a week. I think we've already had 3 or 4 calls this week already, and it's Wednesday. So the calls are increasing. The other thing is, we have a scanner in the office, and also we are able to, excuse me.
Yeah, take your time
Yeah,
because I know you're still recovering, right?
pneumonia is no joke.
Yeah.
Um,
Oh,
so uh, we are able to see the calls that are going out and talk about like what calls are actually a CREST call. And it started out as a well-being check, and then it became a missing child. And dispatch called for all hands on deck. So the six responders went out in three cars. And by the time they got to the area, the child was located.
Mhm.
But they are calling us more often. As far as looking at the computer aided dispatch, um, I'm still not able to access and look at all the calls. I'm still working on that, so that, I know I have a better idea of what calls that my team can take. So those are the type of things that I'm working on with the town manager, the police chief, and dispatch. So
Okay.
things are
Um,
moving in the right direction. Definitely since protocols have been put into place, since we're having more regular meetings, since there is more of an understanding of what CREST can and should not take. Um, I'm trying to remember. I don't know. There was a disturbance last month in Musanti, and myself, I think I already spoke about that last month, and went over, and it was definitely not a crest call. And went over, tried to de-escalate, and realized that this was above what we could do. Step back, just observe the situation, and I have to say that APD, the three officers that showed up, handled it absolutely beautifully. They de-escalated the individual. Um, they and the individual was yelling and screaming, and we were just on the other side of the door, and we could just hear them using very calm tones and talking. There was no raised voices. And I mean, and that's how it should be done. So I just want to give kudos, to APD and their three officers for, coming in and handling a situation in a professional and, trauma-informed manner.
mhm. Yeah, well, that's good to hear. And I mean, one thing is that's good that you all were called though first. And then like you said, one of the things that we always said is that obviously if it's something that we feel APD should be called, then obviously call an APD, or it vice versa, right? If APD is called first and then it's something that actually CREST should be called, APD should be calling you all in. You know what I'm saying? So it should be,
And
but what we
I
want
will
to
just
do.
say that that has happened where if we hear that there is a call that is around bangs, and we know who or have an idea who the individual is, have gone out, de-escalate the situation. APD has come onto the scene, uh, looked and saw that the situation was handled and left.
Mhm.
So the relationship has greatly improved, and I just think it's going to just get better.
Okay. And I'm happy about your optimism and everything else. I mean, I think my role though is to kind of continue to put the pressure on the town council and continue to put the
Hmm.
pressure on the town to make sure that it, and I'm happy they're going in the right direction. But for me and a lot of town residents who look like me, it's still going very slowly. So I'm going to put the pressure on the town to make sure that these dispatch calls increase dramatically. I don't really want a few a week. I want a few a day. You know what I'm
Hmm.
saying? Like multiples, during the day, because
And
also
you
you all
also
need
have,
to get
and
need to get more staff. You all need to get
exactly,
more
I was going to
staff.
say, at the current rate that we're moving, it is going to outpace six responders.
Yep, I get
So,
it,
and that.
but Camille, that's what we need to showcase,
Oh,
though.
that's
We
what
need
I'm
to
saying.
showcase.
This is
Yeah,
why we're right.
exactly.
Exactly. No,
Yeah.
and that's, just proof positive of the really good work that the CREST responders do, is that people are calling and following up, and that even if it comes from dispatch, we are going out there and making sure to follow up to make sure people are getting the resources that they need. So it is, we are, becoming a one-stop shop for resources and to help people and connecting them to the people that they need to be with, instead of um, going through it in different channels.
Yeah, and that was one of the things that at CSWG that we envisioned, obviously, was that you all get that call, you go in, you assess, you do what needs to be done, whether it's de-escalation or what facilitation or what have you, mediation. And then, like you said, doing that warm handoff, right?
Mhm.
Providing the resources, making sure, and then even following up with the person or people, making sure that they're still connected, and then kind of letting them, get that hopefully long-term assistance
Mhm.
that they need from whatever, organization or program, hopefully that they'll be connected. So yeah,
And
I mean,
and one of
go
the other things
ahead.
that has been happening that has increased that is sad is the number of evictions.
Mm,
The Hampshire County Sheriff's Department will call us to go in, and when there is an eviction, it's a long process, to go in and meet with the folks that are being evicted, to go provide resources and to see if there is anything that we can help them with. We have, um, accompanied people or help them when they needed to go to court, because they did not have any transportation. Um, but it is, it's to be there to support somebody through that, I think is really important.
oh yeah, no, because that's a traumatic experience. And obviously, given our economy right now and the soaring prices of everything,
Hmm.
it's just, that's not a surprise to me that obviously, like what you're saying, that evictions unfortunately are on the rise. And, yeah, that's an incredible support that you all provide to folks because, yeah, that's
And
just,
I will say this is that many of the landlords have also, and the property managers are also working with us,
Mhm.
to support these neighbors. So it's not. I mean, I want to make sure that people understand that most of these times when this is happening, I don't think it's done with malice. I really
Mhm.
believe that people have gone through and exhausted everything by time that they're at the point of eviction. So,
Mhm. Mhm.
and if we can help people, and we have helped people before that were in danger of eviction, to help them find the resources, to find programs to help them with back rent, to help them with their fuel bills, etc. So, I mean, there's a lot of resources that are out there, and it's just a lot of people don't know where they are and how to find them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, yeah, we know that navigating resources, navigating organizations that can help, that's
The
very, very difficult.
access is so, important.
Exactly, exactly. Thank you. The other thing that I wanted to just kind of point out as, again, our advocacy for CRES um, is around the fact that,
Am I
obviously I'm
frozen?
happy. Yeah, you're kind of, yeah, no, I think she is frozen, Erica. I think Camille's frozen.
Oh, you're right.
Camille, can you hear us? Yeah, she's frozen. All right, we'll wait to hear from her. But I guess in the meantime, what I'll do is I'll just kind of start doing because because since we switched the meeting, DI was not able to attend today. But I can just kind of mention some of the highlights that they spoke about in their newsletter, which one of the main things being that this month is Disability Pride Month. So they have a variety of activities and events happening this month and really making sure that people understand that, disability rights is not about equality, it's about equity, right? It's about fairness and making sure that everyone has a unique support for them. And it's not saying that everyone needs to get the same support. right? It has to be a unique, tailored support to each individual person. And so the Americans with Disabilities Act, which was put in place in 1990, was a really critical law that was put in place that really has provided a lot of support. And throughout the years, we've really been able to kind of, interpret it and make sure that it provides the protections that people with disabilities or learning different learning abilities can use to really have full access within our society. But Camille, I'll stop there for a second. Just I started going into that since you froze for a little bit. Um, but um, but just wanted to kind of finish off the crest portion of it. My only
Mhm.
other question that I wanted to say was that obviously I'm happy for it's Garcia, right? Who was there?
Dan,
Dan,
yes.
yeah, who was there with you all as the yeah, basically like almost like an assistant manager type of thing. And now yeah, I'm happy that he's going to be in senior services and you all can continue to work together because he seemed like a really an asset to
Hmm.
press. And so again, I want to point out that Crest does need an assistant director. The town needs to make sure that they provide that funding. This is something that Anna, I know you said that Jill will be working to kind of get some additional funding, hopefully for Crest. Besides adding the community responders, Crest needs to have an assistant director. That is not okay for
Hmm.
you, Camille, to have to deal with all these things. And then we're losing really great talent like Dan, even though of
Hmm.
course I'm happy for him, to have gone this job. But we want that talent on Crest,
Right.
which needs it and things like that, given everything that you all are going through. And it's just really disappointing to me
I
that
definitely 100% agree. We need to increase, the number of responders to adequately support the town and to increase hours. With six people, we can't increase hours.
exactly. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yep. And like you said, in terms of what the town is expecting, right? Which is like, that increased number of dispatch and everything else. How are you all going to be able to be responsive if you only have six responders and you don't have an
Hmm.
assistant director? You can't be everywhere, all the
No.
time. There isn't, clones of you as of yet, right, Camille? I'm sure in the future they're going to have clones of all of us, but for now, no. So it's like, this needs to happen. So for
Yes,
us on our end, CSSJC, we need to continue to advocate for the increased funding and make sure for this next budget season that we're already in, that we make that happen. That has to be, priority number one.
I
And
agree. And I appreciate it. Thank you.
Mhm.
Camille,
Mhm.
my memory when you had spoken before was that sort of the bare minimum that you saw as the need was four more responders, two of which could be supervisory and an assistant director. Is that,
Four responders,
Mhm.
yeah. So
but
it might
it's
be
a minimum.
helpful.
But
Yeah.
yes, to get to
So
10 and
the
then
bare
we can,
minimum, yeah.
yes.
All right. So hopefully,
Because
I
if
was
you
able to have a,
if right, if you look at other response, you look at Northampton or you look at Cambridge and the number of responders they have. So and for hours, like Cambridge started with 3 days a week with their responders, and then now I think they're at six, and the same thing with Northampton, and they have I think 10, and also all of their responders like have other like specifics. They have directors, assistant directors, they have team leads, clinicians. So right now, we're doing a lot with a lot less people.
Yes, yes. And then you compare it to the police with 47, and within that 47, there's command staff, there's all of that assists Chief Ting. And so, no, it's just like you all need to get the funding to be able to get the bare minimum because CSWG, we had recommended 14 responders,
Hmm.
plus an assistant director, to be kind of like fully staffed so that you all can have shifts, so that you all can
Mhm.
be really even more so like the extended hours, right, into the later hours in the evening, which is what Leap had kind of said would have more of the foot traffic in terms of calls and things like that. So, but yeah, we could start with 10, for now, an assistant director, like so four more plus the assistant director. And then the
Mhm.
following year, then, maybe add another two and then another two, because we need to, increase you all's numbers. I mean, that's critical, you know.
And that again, as our numbers increase, we are going to see a need.
Hmm.
So, and that is, I think, that because of the pull-up program and being in the community and being at the morning movement mentoring program, that we've had the ability to see more and more people. So, being out and highly visible is
Yeah.
really important.
Yeah.
You
Mhm.
guys have the best fidgets and throws from parades and things like that. They're excellent.
And we now have
So
the stickers. We're also all trained in Culture City. So I mean, any classes or trainings that we can get, especially if they're free, because I don't have a budget, for training. So I do the best I can with what I have.
Well, and so also one of the agenda items that Eric and I had asked to add later, so we can kind of circle back to that, was reconstituting the subcommittees for CSSJC. Hopefully, one of which would be focused on CRES and being able to like really directly support that budget advocacy. And so, in speaking with Councilor Breivik, and I know that Councilor Lord is our liaison, that hopefully we can sometime soon sit down and like try to hammer out what those actual numbers would look like for the positions that you would be
Mhm.
requesting, and then also maybe training budget. Would that be a reasonable request? Things like that, but to have actual hard numbers to be able to start pushing would be great.
Mhm. Mhm. Well, and just well, for me and for the listeners, you said culture ready. What did you mean by that?
Culture
Just
City.
culture
So
city.
Culture City, that's in so for people with special needs, for like crowds, one of the things, this was something that Becky from Rec recommended through morning movement program and talking about that. So some of the things that we picked out of that were like earplugs. So for example, the fireworks. Um, Many people can't handle the noise of the fireworks.
Mhm.
So that was something that was, really important. And then other people to help with calming, we have stickers, created stickers, Brittany did, and that have texture. And you can like move around them. And they say like breathe, hold for two, breathe, hold for four. And those are really helpful.
Hmm.
So. And
That's
now
really
I'm
cool.
realizing now, like the dates, I'm like, what else was going on? The fireworks.
Mhm.
Um, Chris was there for the fireworks. I think that it went very, very smoothly this year. We had a couple of people that went down with heat exhaustion, but the senior center had it's their it's not a van, it's bigger. The shuttle. They had the shuttle. One of the crest responders had the senior van, and then we also had two golf carts. So on the back of the golf carts, because it was 97 degrees, we put our crest coolers, the 5-gallon coolers, filled with water and ice. We had cups, and we drove around and helped people. We had the cups, and we also filled up water bottles. We were able to give out, some fans to people, paper fans. And if people were unable to walk back to their car or needed help with some equipment or something like that, it was really good for us to be able to be out there in the crowd and help people and meet them where they were at.
Mhm.
So
Mhm.
it really was a wonderful event. I think they said it was at least 8,500 people.
Wow, awesome. Thank you. Any other questions for Camille? Okay, thank you, Camille. I appreciate it and also appreciate, again, like I said, you assisting and giving the report, given that you're still recuperating. So much appreciated.
Thank you. I'm
Um,
still going to be here just to let you know, but I'm going to go off video.
oh, perfect. But yeah, thank you for being here because I'll probably need help if people want to talk later because I still don't know how to pull people and
Yes,
I probably just need to talk to you and figure that out, in the future. But
not a
thanks, I
problem.
appreciate it.
Okay.
All right. So to continue with the DEI, like I said, it's Disability Pride Month. For the month of July. And so DI is doing different um, activities around that. So Disability Pride Month celebrations. They have Jones Library Story Time and Disability, and another one at the Mill River Park. So the Jones Library Story Time is July 16th on a Thursday. And then the other event is on July 20th at 12 p.m. Where Olympian swimmer will be talking. So Tori Dixon and Juan Dixon will be at these events talking about their experience and sharing, different goals they were able to achieve. Also talked about the fact that there was Race Amity Day and Human Rights Commission Youth Hero Awards and how well all of that went. Then there was the Amherst Pride. Um, they said they saw over 500 marchers from 37 different organizations for the parade and over 80 vendors and roughly over 1,000 people on the common. And obviously thanking everyone for taking part in the Amherst Pride. They also talked about celebrating. They had a panel display for the USA Democracy 250 Years in the Making. And then there was the reading of the Frederick Douglass, What to Slave is the 4th of July. Um, and that was on Sunday, July 5th at 3 p.m. I'm just going to do the highlights here. Um, there's also, there was a Braille story time with Mary Westgate. That was July 10th at 11 to 11:30 a.m., kind of talking, story time, talking about Braille books, singing, and musical instruments. Let me see if there's anything else here. Ta-ta-ta-ta. I think those were the highlights. But obviously their newsletter is on our website. So if you want more detail, just go to our under Crest and you can look at the newsletter that they send in to us. Okay. So now we will move on to the Resident Oversight Board, GOL update. So with the Resident Oversight Board, I know that there was a meeting that GOL had because they're the body and the town council that were given the task to look at the two proposals that were made by the consultants. One is an investigative proposal, the other one is a review proposal, a model, right? And so at the last meeting, from what I know, it's not as if I haven't listened to the recording, but they asked the town attorney to come in and kind of look at the two proposals. And so the town attorney, based on what I've heard, has just asked a ton of questions and really trying to poke holes at having, I think at having a resident oversight board. So what I want to do with us is kind of, so then I was contacted actually by Anna, what's Anna's last name from town council?
Devlin?
Yeah, Anna Devlin. I was contacted by Anna Devlin, who basically said that they're going to be meeting in August. And so she would like CSSJC to kind of, CSSJC members to one, look at the meeting recording, look at the questions that were raised and how the attorney answered those questions, and then for us to provide any responses and any information that we'd like in regards to it. Because as you all know, that we've been talking about for, many years and months as we've kind of engaged in this process, because in November we put pressure on the town council, and that's when the town council and the consultants made, their presentation, and we put pressure for the resident oversight board to be put in place. Since we've been waiting for years, since 2021, for this to be established. And so the fact that again they're poking holes. For instance, I know that one of the things is that because post is a law that obviously kind of looks at reviews of the police officers. They feel that since there's post that there shouldn't be any review, kind of town review to review the police, and post is that's a state agency that really looks at high level egregious issues, and they're not looking at the issues that we would be complaining about, that town residents would be complaining about. And this was something that Chief Ting and others bring up all the time, that why do we need a resident oversight board? Because there's already post. And that is two different, totally different aspects. And so, and I feel that's a huge excuse. So what I want to talk with you all, members of the CSSJC, is for us to kind of talk further about it, but we need to make a plan in terms of how, we need to provide that information to them prior to the meeting. I believe it's in August, but I gotta see when it is. But in the meantime, let me call on Erica while I'm looking at when it is that they're having the meeting.
Thank you, Deborah. I did go to the meeting and I sat through it. So I just want to say that Councillor Ryan was there, Councillor Grismer, Councillor Devlin Gautier, who's the chair, and Councillor Cano Martin were there. And the lawyer from JP Law that represented the town. It was very clear that the role of the lawyer was around town risk avoidance. It was absolutely about risk avoidance. And I think, the underlying presentation or response to the questions that each of the counselors raised, though the lawyer didn't always answer them, was that post, as it's a commission, and that it started in 2021, that our recommendations meaning the community safety working group's recommendations for Rob was prior to the post creation. And she kept on stressing that by the statutory bylaws, that post actually has the ability and has the responsibility to actually review any complaint, and that a complaint has to be reviewed within 24 hours. And so there were a lot of questions about what does that mean, who is on post, how is post representative of community. The lawyer couldn't answer that. The lawyer kept on raising that there might be the issue of double jeopardy, meaning that if Rob were to take on a case, I really didn't hear her talk about should it be review or investigative. It was just really Rob, period. If Rob took on an investigation and they came up with, some finding, and then post took on, had to look at the same investigation because it has to go to post, whatever the complaint is. And there could be, quote unquote, a double jeopardy. And again, saying that Rob did not have the authority to subpoena people. Rob did not have the authority to get any records beyond what's a public record, whereas the post did. So their ability to actually investigate couldn't be very deep. The other thing, she kept on just stating is that, this police officer standards and training, they go through training, it's not, Rob is not really needed because post is comprehensive. It actually can decertify officers, which Rob would never be able to do. Literally, it was more of Rob can't. Anna actually asked, well, there are Robs in Cambridge and in Boston, and I believe in Somerville maybe, and actually in Springfield. How are they able to do this? And that was never answered. So Anna said that she was going to actually get in touch with Boston, Cambridge, and Springfield. and find out how they're operating. Supposedly, Cambridge was formed prior to Post. So then again, Anna said, well, then it would be really good to know how they are working with Post. So Anna actually, I mean, they all were asking questions, trying to get clarification questions. But I just felt that the lawyer was more of we can't versus how can we. And so that's when Anna said, look, I think it's really important that the CSSJC listens to this whole session and comes up with questions. She also said she was going to contact APD as well to ask about questions that they had, and then send it back to the lawyer. But they themselves were going to look into how the ROBs are working in other cities.
Yeah. Yeah, and I think so. I found the email from Anna Devlin Gauthier, and it's basically they're going to be meeting on August 11th. So we should be getting them any information relevant to this before August 11th for them to take into consideration. Because the arguments that the attorney is making are the same arguments that I heard from the police when I was in the committee, who was working on the different proposals, the whole double jeopardy, the fact that there was post, and that is not true because post is high level, like I said. They really look at as more like use of force and things like that. Like those really like if you're, taking out a weapon, if you're really kind of, brutalizing someone, things like that, which again, as we've said in Amherst is not an inherently violent town. So a lot of those things wouldn't even rise to that level or that standard of post because we did send a lot of the complaints that we have had with the police with these past few years, we have sent to post and they always come back and say, we don't review those. So and if you go to post and you see, because they have a whole log of the issues that they actually deal with, and they do decertify police. But again, high level use of force and those types of things, like high level fraud, those, like really, you know, abhorrent kind of behavior, that we're dealing with is, police saying youth have no rights. You know what I'm saying? Post is not going to look at that, but we need the resident oversight board to be able to look at that, right? They need to be able to look at these types of grievances and complaints that come that might not reach the level of post, but is actually very egregious for our town residents, right? Our BIPOC town residents who are intimidated and deal with these types of injuries on a daily basis. So, and based on what you're saying, Erica, I'm concerned that the attorney, like you said, wasn't even looking at which model, right? But just looking at why is there even a need, which was again, so I really feel like this attorney is biased because these are all the arguments that the police were making when we were on the committee. Why is there a need? Why, so why are we back there? Why are we back there with why is there a need, right? Why is she, it's a she, the attorney is a she. Why is there, well, there's post and double jeopardy. These are all police arguments. You know what I'm saying? I just want to make it clear that these are all police arguments, and that she's regurgitating, what the APD have said in the past. So, so we do need to make a response. We do need to, respond by August 11th. And then to go further, I guess the only thing that she did kind of respond a little bit on was around saying that that you couldn't review records, that you couldn't what is it? You wouldn't have subpoena power. Those are all things that we would need to really, she would need to show us why. You know what I'm saying? Why couldn't we review records? Why couldn't Resident Oversight Board have subpoena powers? Because yes, you are able to do it if the town wants to do it. I'm an attorney myself. And an attorney can always come up with arguments one way or the other. Let me just tell you, that's my profession, right? I can very easily say all these things for, and then I can easily come up with 10 other arguments against. So I really think if there was a will, there would be a way. But since there is no will, right? The will is to um, really sink the resident oversight board, sabotage it and bombard it, then oh, look at all these problems. Look at everything. We can't do this, we can't do that, we can't do the other. My thing is show me where it is in terms of the laws and regulations and so on and so forth. I don't want to just hear from you that we can't do it, you know? So, so yeah, any other feedback before we come up with a plan in terms of how we're going to respond?
I just want to say one more time that Anna was very clear, and she asked a couple of times, well, where would Rob actually, what kind of place could Rob, or role Rob could play? But the attorney never responded. So it's again, that was a question never answered.
Okay. Okay. All right. So, August 11th, I'm just pulling up my calendar here. Um, and I know obviously, vacations and all of that, because I know like I'm gonna be away next week and then maybe away again for another few days and in a few weeks. So August 11th is in like 3 weeks. Let me see. Yeah, one, two, yeah, like 3 weeks. Like 3.5 weeks. So, we need to kind of figure out, and I know we're going to be talking about subcommittees, but I think we should just kind of subcommittees. I think we need to just weave them in to our discussion items because basically it's like, okay, we need subcommittees to do our work, which we have used subcommittees in the past in CSSJC. It's just obviously we've always haven't had too many members, so we haven't been able to utilize subcommittees in the past. But now that we're close to being full, I mean, obviously now we're down one member because of Allegra leaving. But yeah, subcommittees is always a great idea. But with subcommittees though, it would need to be at least two people. You see what I'm saying? Because at least two people works because you want the other person there to kind of help that person so you all hold each other accountable and everything. Because right now, because we haven't been able to have subcommittees because of our low numbers, then it's just one person and then obviously things come up and then you're not able to follow through, on some of the things that you have to do because you have no one else to kind of rely on. So with this one over here, we need to kind of think about obviously the questions that were asked. I did ask Anna to send me the questions because that would have made it a lot easier as opposed to having us, have to look at the recording, but she never responded to me to the email that I sent to her weeks ago, where I asked her to just send us the questions because then, that the attorney posed, because that would be a lot easier than having us um, have to sit down and review a recording. But so what we need to do is we need to, whoever's going to do it, review the recording and then, highlight the questions and then have responses to those questions. And obviously we can take two from the CSWG report because, our group, CSWG, did a lot of work in terms of why there was a need for the resident oversight board. So we can also get some information from this because none of us have time to recreate the wheel. And then we need to probably look at some other models, maybe look at Springfield and you said Cambridge, but possibly any other models that has resident oversight boards in place. And then, respond by, let me see, it's by the 11th. Well, they're having the meeting at the 11th. So she never told me like when it is that she would need to receive it. Um, but I'm thinking, they need to get it before the 11th. You know what I'm saying? So they could have time to review and things like that. So, and so how we'd need to do it would be for at least two people to take this on, kind of put together a draft response, share it with us so that if we have any edits or tweaks, and then we send it to Anna so that she can get it to the GOL. All right. Um, so Erica?
My understanding from Anna was is that this group had so many questions just from meeting with the lawyer that because they had so many questions, she also wanted us to look at the presentation and wanted to get questions from us to give to the lawyer.
Mm.
Um, so, I mean, I understand, you want to respond to, what the lawyer stated, but I think, one of the things that the GOL is doing right now is doing exactly what you're saying, which is that they're looking at other different models because they are not clear, if these are all the different challenges, why is it it's working in other places? And so I'm just worried that we're going to be doing the same thing that Anna's doing right now versus, trying to work with possibly Anna. I mean, I could call or get in touch with Anna and say, look, have you looked at these already? Because we want to hear, what's happening in other places as opposed to us calling and she's already called them already.
Mhm.
Um, so I mean,
But this is the thing. So in her thing, she said the meeting was, whatever. In the discussion, we discussed how it would be helpful to hear thoughts from the CSSJC on the questions and answers, and to see if the committee had questions to recommend that we ask. So it was an and both. You know what I'm
yeah.
saying? And I think it's important for us to respond. We need to respond to what that attorney was saying. I mean, we can't just pose questions back. I think we can pose questions back, but that's not the only thing we need to do. We need to really kind of go at, because like I told you all, the things that the attorney brought up, things that APD has been making, and if we don't address them, it's just going to be things that will end up nullifying the resident oversight board, because it's already an uphill battle with the resident oversight board. We already know the town does not want it. APD does not want it. The union, the APD union does not want it. And they are APD and the APD union are very powerful in our town. And we know that the town really leverages their opinion over pretty much anyone else's opinion. So we need to address those questions like head on. And this will be the opportunity because, you know, the members, the GOL members, it, it, I just, given what you stated, Erica, given the tone of the meeting, I don't see them moving forward with the resident oversight board if we're not able to make a case for the resident oversight board at this point. You see what I'm saying? It's very critical. Like this is a critical situation where we're at right now because I'm already seeing that they're at the precipice of being like not even a resident oversight board. You know what I'm saying? Because remember, that's what the town is all about, right? Risk avoidance. We're not going to take on liability, any type of excuse to not really deal with the needs of our residents, and in particular, our BIPOC residents, who are the ones that suffer most at the hands of the police. So that's the situation. So, are there, folks that are willing to at least, work on a draft? I can assist, but I can't be the point person or whatever, just because, like I said, I have some vacations that are coming up. So I can't like take on, but I know that I'd like to be involved in formulating some of the answers to these questions, since, I do know some of the information and things like that. But I can't, I would almost be kind of like maybe a third person or whatever that would assist in that way, but I couldn't like take this on as being like the two primary people or whatever.
When did you say it needed to be done by? Because I'm also going to be gone for about 2 weeks at the end of July.
Yeah, so August 11th is when they're meeting next. Because they're away for the I guess, they were going to be away too, I think for
It's
vacation.
actually Anna. Anna's going to be away. So they would need it before July 11th to
Yeah.
take a look to see what they had.
Yeah, I'm thinking like we would probably get it to them by the 7th, would be that Friday. I'm thinking because the 11th is a Tuesday.
Yeah.
But I think if we get it to them by the 11th, that might be a good thing. But you're away, when are you away,
As
Erica?
of July 28th.
So July 28th through the what date?
11, actually, I won't be back in Amherst until the 12th.
Okay. And then I'm away next week, starting the 20th through the 27th. Um,
You know what I would recommend is because the lawyer actually wrote the response and the response is part of the packet, I would take a look at that. If you know, I mean, I could try to pull together whatever anybody wants to send me. Um, and it would be preliminary. I mean, I was pretty clear about our concerns when there was public statement about our concerns. You know, it was even before listening to the whole lawyer, but what our concerns were and what we expected, which
mhm.
was a Rob with investigative powers. That
Yes.
was what the CSSJC expected, which is what the CSWJ G put together.
Mhm.
You know, that statement could be like the beginning of it, and these are the reasons why, and these were concerned regarding the responses from the town. So if I at least can start with that skeleton, and people can send me anything else, then at least we'll have something to respond.
So why don't you do this? Why don't you start it, right? Start the draft. Maybe by when do you want folks to send you anything that we need to send you? Because then if you can start a draft, then because then I'll be back on the 27th and then you're leaving on the 28th, then I can pick it up. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And
Yep.
then
Yep.
kind of work on it a little bit more. I don't know, Anna, if you have any time to also, work on it with me at that point, on the 27th, well, not the 27th, I get in really late on the 27th. So I'm saying I'd probably be able to kind of look at it. Like when you leave the 28th, you'd give me the draft by the 28th. And then maybe we could look at it because then I'm going to be away again on the 6th through the 9th. So really, then we'd need to work on it from the 28th until like, let's say the 5th or whatever, to kind of finalize it and then get it to them.
Yeah.
So
Maybe the thing is if you could send me high level concerns or comments. And Deborah, because you were with the CSWG, anything that you want me to emphasize from the CSWG, I could start pulling it together. And then it'd be the skeleton. If you can get this, just, I mean, these are high level, it doesn't have to be full sentences, just these are the points, even if it's just bullet points, make sure this is included, make sure this is included, make sure this is included, because these are the huge things that the CSWG really emphasized. Then I can start working on it. And if you can get it to me maybe by next Thursday the latest.
Well, then
um
I'd have to get it to you by like the 19th because I'm off. I'm
okay.
gone.
Okay, the 19th sounds
As
good.
of the 20th.
19th sounds
Yeah.
that sounds perfect. 19th
Yeah.
sounds good.
Yeah.
And if you can want to get it to me by the 20th, if you have any comments, any, your
Well,
concerns.
Erica, what you should do, can you just after this meeting, just kind
Yeah,
of, um, you know, send it out to the all CSW, I mean CSSJC members,
yeah, yeah,
CSSJC members, and just kind of do like a little blurb, like what we discussed and what we're asking for, and
yeah.
just ask people. And then you said that you want to get it by when? I mean, obviously for me, you'd have to get it from me by the 19th, but others, are you
Yeah.
giving them a little bit longer or?
Yeah. Just one more day. I'll just give it to them the 20th.
Okay,
Well,
so
maybe,
just say until the 20th. Yeah,
yeah,
just say to
yeah,
provide comments to you by the 20th,
yeah,
and then you can put together kind of like a draft,
yeah,
and then you can get it to me by the 28th.
yeah,
Well, you can get it to all of the members, but I will
yeah.
be the one to kind of
The
like
point
work on
person.
it to try
Right,
to
right,
fine
right.
tune it and things like that.
Yeah.
Could we
Um,
do it as like a shared Google Doc so we could kind of do it collaboratively and add commenting in that we could respond to?
If we do that, it has to be public as part
Ah,
of the
okay.
public meeting. So my understanding is that any document we might work on as a group like that has to be available to the public
Okay.
as we work on it. But if you send your comments to one point person, like, everybody sends
mhm.
their comments to me, I work on it, send it to everybody, and then you send their comments to Deborah only.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, and I think that still
Mhm.
meets the public meeting laws.
Yeah, yep, it's true. Hmm.
Okay. I'm also going to be traveling and then have a conference I'm presenting at. So things are pretty tight for the rest of July, but then picking up sort of in that second phase ever if you want to support and kind of coming back to it and editing, tightening things up, stuff like that, it would probably be more available for that part of it.
Okay, great. So yeah, because for me it'll be like I said, the 28th through the 5th, I have some flexibility
Yeah.
because then I'll be away again on the 6th.
Yeah. And then we
So
also have, do you think Everald would be interested in that or was that?
I mean, I don't know because
Yeah.
obviously he's not here.
Yeah.
So, that's why I want Erica to share it with all the members because maybe
Yeah.
he'll say, yeah, I want to be involved,
Yeah.
but at this point.
Yeah. Had you gotten any responses when you sent out that the email initially from Anna?
No, I
That one.
didn't.
Okay.
No, no, no. But we had also not discussed it, so
Great. Yeah.
yeah. Um, all right. Okay, so then in terms of that, so let's say I get it the 28th, I would really want to kind of work on it a few days, like maybe the 30 until like the 31st, that Friday, and then share it with the group to finalize it by the 5th so that I could get it to Anna on the 5th. So I'm just kind of trying to work. So basically we're giving, you the feedback by the 20th, then 7/28, you're going to send the draft to me, then well, to the members, but me as a point, and then on that email just tell people if they have any edits to send it directly to me. Okay, Erica, when you send the thing on the
Yep,
20th,
yep,
and
yep.
then I'll get any feedback, and then anything else that I want to add, and then finalize the next draft by the 31st, and give people again an opportunity to provide any other edits. And then the 5th, I will get it to Anna. Okay? And I'll share it obviously with you all when I send it to Anna. I can do that, right? Just when I share it to Anna, kind of, oh no, I probably just send it to her and then forward what I send to her to you all. Okay? All right. All right.
And then we just include it in the packet of our next meetings to make it available. I mean, as once we finalize it, we could just post it on our website and people can comment if they want to.
You're saying, wait, so once we finalize it, do what?
If we want to, we could post it on our website. If not, we could just put it in our meeting packet for August.
Yeah, we'll just put it in the meeting packet. I'll make sure to include it in the meeting packet because the kind of resident oversight board will be on the agenda again, GOL update. So we'll add it to the meeting packet. Perfect. All right, we have a game plan for that. So thank you all. Um, The next one, ICE updates, sanctuary city bylaw. So basically, this is based on, we had the meeting with town council. This was when again that we met with them? All the months are melding
June
into one at this point
8th, 6th, 8th, 8th, June 8th.
of June, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Um, and as you all know, that we had this tri-board meeting with Chief Ting and Paul Bachman. It was our group as well as the Human Rights Commission and the Town Council, and we had a chance to kind of ask follow-up questions to the response that the Paul Bachman had in regards to questions that we had submitted to him. And then based on that, there were a ton of questions that at that point, Paul Bachman had said that he wasn't prepared to answer, or Chief Ting were not prepared to answer, that he was going to get further response I mean, he was going to submit further response to those answers. In the meantime, Human Rights Commission did submit the questions again to the town council and saying, hey, these were some of the questions that you said you were going to ask in regards to ICE. And so, I know that Paul did say, yes, thank you for those. But I haven't, we haven't heard anything else in regards to it. And then I did contact Mandy Joe in regards to those questions, like when are we going to get answers to those questions? And she said that on July 20th, that the town manager is going to be presenting and providing responses to some of the questions that he was not able to answer during the town council meeting where we attended, and that those responses are going to be in writing. So I think what we want to do is, I won't be able to attend it because, like I said, I'll be traveling. So if there's anyone that's able to attend it to kind of, um, hear what he says and also kind of get the report in terms of the questions, because we really want to see whether he responded to the ICE questions, and then obviously in terms of our other agenda item, whether he responded to the questions that we asked him relevant to the CSWG recommendations, because there was a ton of questions that we posed during the CSWG recommendation portion of the meeting, which he said he was going to get back to the town council on. So we definitely have those two parts that he needs to respond to. Um, so I guess the first is just to ask, is anyone planning to attend the 20th meeting?
I can attend the 20th.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, so
It's
if
at
you could,
6:30 down, 6:30 in town council meeting.
I'm assuming, I mean, she didn't say the time,
Yep.
but I'm assuming that's when they occur, right? The 6:30.
Yeah.
But she did say that he was going to be given a report and responding to some of the questions, but obviously it's questions that she had, and I'm assuming the questions that Human Rights Commission had. Um, but I don't know if that's going to encompass all the questions that we had. So that's why I wanted to see if we could, if someone could, like, if you're attending, Erica, if you could see what are the questions that were posed to him that needed responses and see what he gives. And then if there is a report, if you can just share the report with us, okay? So that we get a chance to review it. Any other questions in terms of ICE updates?
There is going to be a rally on Thursday, which is tomorrow.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, we actually announced it early in the meeting, but thank you for announcing it again. 5:30 is going to be right across from the APD in the park there. So hopefully everyone comes out. Of course they're asking for signs and everything, but me, a lot of times I don't have signs, so just show up. I just show up. So we need the voices, we need people there, to really showcase the importance of um, you know, getting rid of ICE. Because as you all know, 3 people have been killed this week in different states throughout our country. ICE is decimating people, decimating families, and really intimidating and making people fearful. I know people that are afraid to leave their home, afraid to go to the grocery stores, afraid to go to hospitals, courthouses, because ICE is everywhere trying to capture people. It is really, as a Black person, it really makes me think of slavery times, like back in the days when we needed to have Underground Railroad and so on and so forth, because this is just it's just horrific, horrific that people are living in this way and people are losing their lives because of what this you know what is it um gang um organization and department is doing, because call it what it is. But I know there was a hand up. Anna, did you want to say anything?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, and I think I don't want to say this in any sort of like alarmist way, but that as like discussions we've been having within the Luce network, is that there have been increased numbers of calls, not right here in Amherst, but within Massachusetts, more concentrated in the East, but folks who are involved in that kind of support have been trying to sort of shore up everything, just to be sure that we have our ducks in a row in case there is more activity around here.
Hmm. Yeah.
And I was just going to say, and that doesn't include the detention centers where people are not getting humanitarian treatment, lack of medical care, lack of just humanity. Um, so it is, yes, what they're doing on the streets with impunity, as well as what's happening in detention centers.
Yeah, exactly.
And for folks that are interested in doing more, so one of the things like that happened recently was that the Western Mass Asylum Support Network had a client that they were representing in court, and they put out a call to have folks come to the courthouse to be present and watching for any sort of threat to this person as they showed up for the hearing that they needed to be there for to stay in compliance with the process they're involved in. But because there have been these targeting of people as they go to things like court hearings. So anybody who is interested in doing that kind of support, there's always need for it to really try to proactively keep people safe.
Yeah, in terms of deaths, there's more than 50 deaths in terms of when you include like detention centers and people on the streets and things like that. So yeah, you're absolutely right, Erica. It's just like, but the alarming, even more alarming, 3 deaths in 1 week. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like, that is just abhorrent. And this is from an administration that says they want to end violence. And that's why they're doing what they're doing. How is that showcased when you're killing people and injuring people on the streets and in detention centers? That's not, that's not the message. Is, you're creating violence as opposed to ending violence. So, it's terrible. Other comments or questions or thoughts? All right. So the racist flyer response, I know that Camille DEI, and I don't know if there was another group that were working on doing different sessions for the community around like the racist flyer that was leafleted around cars. Um, in our community. But as of right now, I haven't heard anything else in regards to it. I know there was an event that Kathleen Anderson and others had put on to kind of discuss it, but I wasn't able to follow up with her, so I don't have any update in regards to how that event went. Not sure if anyone went to it or wants to speak on it, but that could be something that we can circle back unless anyone has any other information.
The only thing that I would say, I had gone to some of the DEI events. I wasn't able to make it to the one that Kathleen, that was Gabe's last soccer game, had to go to that. I did go to the Cup of Joe with Paul Bockelman and Pamela from DEI, and pushed him a little bit on some kind of response. And one thing that he did say that he would do was to follow up with the police department to see if this investigation that was supposed to be what was waiting for the next step had ended, because there should be some sort of announcement if this has ended, or if it hasn't, for some reason, we should know that. I haven't heard anything since that. I haven't seen anything come out. I did email Chief Ting last week and haven't heard anything back, just saying, if it's still open, is there something we should be worried about? If it's not, can this be, can it be closed and that can that be made public? So if anybody else wants to follow up and put some pressure to have some sort of response on that, because that was something that the town manager said that he would do.
I mean, is there any way, like, if you contact him, just CC me on it,
Sure.
and then we'll see what he says, and if he doesn't respond, I can follow up.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's been about a week, so I can respond. I can just do a little nudge with that and copy you on it.
Yeah, yeah. All right, great. Um, the next item is around the Youth Empowerment Center funds and location. So I did contact Paul Bockelman based on our discussion at the last meeting to ask again in terms of the funding for the Youth Empowerment Center, that $450,000, as well as earmarking space in the Wildwood for the Youth Empowerment Center, given that we already know that other town programs are being already situated there. We know that they have the ability to earmark some of the space for the Youth Empowerment Center. But of course, I didn't stop there. I also said around the Multicultural Center that they need to think about both, because right now we need to make sure that we get both set in that location. And I think that, again, he did not respond. I said that, we had the meeting. Actually, I had said we had the meeting last week. Um, and I didn't hear back from him at all. And so this needs to be one of those things that we definitely need to, if he doesn't respond to some of these things on July 20th, we need to follow up with the town council on that, because these things we brought up at the town council meeting back in June, and we definitely need like a liaison that's going to attend our meetings on a monthly basis, that's going to be able to talk about the Youth Empowerment Center. And then also we want to know, why isn't the money earmarked, and why isn't it the location set in terms of Wildwood? Because we know that if we don't get this right now, we're not going to get, and that was their excuse. So just so you all know, after we had made the recommendation was adopted by the town council, that's been the excuse. There's no location, there's no appropriate location, we can't find anything, so on and so forth. But now there is a location. So now what's the excuse now? You see what I'm saying? So it's just a lot of delay and, distract and resist tactics that we need to make sure that we don't fall for, and that we keep putting the pressure. And Paul, responds when he wants to respond, or doesn't respond when he doesn't want to. So, Anna?
I'm one question and then two comments, I guess. My understanding was that that the Amherst Recreation is going into the space during the summer in Wildwood. Have there been any sort of official announcements of how that space is going to be used? I did. My kids are at an Amherst Recreation camp this summer, and I saw Becky Dumling, and she was mentioning that she had some actual sort of numbers about like what the upkeep is for that. And the impression that I got from her was that there wasn't necessarily a plan to have anybody stay in there past that September time that it's being handed back over by the school committee to the town. Has there been anything like officially about that space being used for other town departments, or is that just based on what it's being used for the summer?
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's for the summer or beyond. And at this
Okay.
point, I really am not concerned with that.
Yeah, well, it would be good to have clarity
Yeah,
on
no,
that if they are
it is
actually,
true,
especially if it is
but
past that and it's not
yeah,
being
no,
publicly announced.
true, yeah.
Yeah.
But but for me, I'm gonna make that argument regardless,
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I
Um,
think it's worth it for sure.
yeah,
The
because
other two things, one was I just wanted to report back a while back so that I would reach out to the Waltham Partnership for Youth. The first person I'd reached out to is no longer with the organization, but then I found that actually a person I'd done some organizing with in Waltham back there is now on the board. So he gave me a little bit more information sort of about like the early days, because now it exists as a nonprofit. It's not part of the town. But that originally when it came into existence, it actually was a partnership. So it came into existence as a group of people that represented different departments within the city. That would come together and basically, as they identified specific youth-oriented needs, would put together a plan and spin off programming or whatever it was that was needed to kind of fill that need. And that eventually that was what kind of came together into this more unified organization that became the Waltham Partnership for Youth, that then ended up getting spun off into a nonprofit. So that was the model that they'd used. It was more about realizing they didn't really have a youth centered department. So it was that the different departments that were providing those different services coming together and trying to develop that together. So that was the sort of the background on that. The other thing I just wanted to throw out there, I don't know if anybody is familiar with, that I started thinking about more because of space, but is the organization Palante in Holyoke. I don't know if anybody that,
yeah, I know,
yeah,
yeah,
that I know that their origin and their focus is about restorative justice, but I've been able to go to a couple of programs there, and a lot of what they're doing seems very oriented in the same direction in terms of empowerment, youth-led activity, giving that space for belonging and stuff, and that they have this beautiful space that's a house that really is a really nice, comfortable space, and just wondering if that would be anything worth exploring, thinking about space in that sense. I know that there's been a couple of times where buildings like that have ended up getting turned over into like shelters or things like that that the town works with. And also, if it would be worth kind of speaking with somebody there about the programming and the way that they run their things, if that was something that we could learn some from in terms of what we wanted ours to look like.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that would be a great thing to look at Palante and look at their model.
Yeah.
Like you said, they are, focused on youth empowerment and leadership and things like that. And so that would be great to kind of, showcase as an example for the town. That's great that they have that space, but I'm telling you, I mean, the thing is that, we've been dealing with the town since 2021. Okay, we've had all these conversations. We've provided all sorts of locations, houses, buildings, this, that, and the third, and nothing ever fits. That's why I'm telling you all we need to focus on Wildwood. Like, if we don't get this Wildwood space, we're going to be back into the treadmill of excuses. That's where we're going to be. I get it. Like, I wish they were open to, obviously a home or this or that, but they're not, Anna. They're not. I'm telling you, they're not. We've been battling with them since 2021. We're in 2026. We've talked about all the different locations manageable in Amherst. We've discussed, we've shared, we found out locations that were available, brought it to their attention to no avail. That's why I'm saying we need to all hands on deck, focus on Wildwood and let them slink away in terms of Wildwood. This is our best opportunity to establish this. If we don't establish this now, telling y'all, it's going to be another, few years. And, I told you all I'm leaving in a year. So, we need to get it together, like now, to get it done. But also, Anna, that was great information in terms of just like how Waltham did it. So I think what we could do is, are you able to get any other information? Maybe if you can get more information around Palante, like what they've been doing, like their
Yeah,
programming.
absolutely.
Yeah, if you can do that, um, I'll I have to follow up would be with what's his name? Sam, because I know Sam McLeod was really interested in establishing the um the Youth Empowerment Center. Um and then the town council, I have to, follow up, after the 20th, Erica, whatever you share in terms of what the town manager comes back, because if he doesn't mention the Youth Empowerment Center, I'm going to reach out to Mandy Joe and let her know that we need answers in terms of the location, in terms of the liaison, in terms of the funding for the Youth Empowerment Center. We want answers because we posed all of those questions to Paul Ackerman during our town council meeting, and he said he was going to get back to us on those questions. So if he doesn't respond to those, I'm going to go directly to Mandy Joe.
One other question, actually, this just occurred to me as I was saying that about Palante, that the origin of that actually was within the schools and in partnership with the schools. Is that anything that CSSJC or CSHWG had ever explored, was working either with the elementary or regional district in terms of youth center? Would that be another avenue to explore?
Yeah, I mean, I think it could be something to explore in the future. It's just that we know that I mean, it all depends on what we mean by that, because I think we would be collaborating with them anyway,
Yeah,
like, through establishing a youth empowerment center, but
right.
they don't have funds. They don't, you know what I'm saying? They don't even have funds for their own schools right now.
Yeah,
So I think it's more so kind of collaborating with them, as we're establishing, because I know that it would be very welcome to them, because
yeah,
I've heard from other residents who are, teachers and administrators in our school system who obviously will welcome that, because we'd
yeah,
be, helping, especially after hours, right? After school, to
Mhm.
help with homework help and have the space where that they can have, do the arts and sports and this and that, all the different things that young people need to do to kind of really feel supported and helped. And and then obviously have workshops on youth empowerment, have them do different community service things throughout the town, right? Really engaged
Yeah.
with, so this is all going to be helpful for the schools because happy youth, happy,
Yeah.
living, you know what I'm
Well,
saying? So
and I don't think this would necessarily help in terms of ongoing funding, but if we're thinking about what we need in order to sort of get things up and running, that if we were able to find some like allies within the schools, whether it was teachers or administrators or anything, there might be funding sources like what is it, the Amherst Education Foundation, things like that, that will do certain grants. That even if that was to sort of do some of the like exploratory work or being able to hire anybody to try to put together budgets and things like that, it might open up some other resources.
yeah, that's a great idea for sure. I don't know if you want to like take that on.
I can at least start with asking some questions.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, that would be great. Right. All right. So I'll follow up with Sam and follow up with the Mandy, but I'll wait to hear from you, Erica, before I follow up with Mandy, so I know specifically what I'm going to be asking her. Okay. And then, I'll follow up with Paul again. I'll do another email to him to see if he asks anything. Or maybe what I'll do is when I send it to Mandy, I'll CC Paul on it so he knows exactly what I'm asking Mandy and so on and so forth. So, alrighty. So the next one we had is the town council meeting follow-up. I think we've already kind of talked a little bit in terms of when we were talking about some of the other agenda items. Is there anything else we need to discuss in regards to that? Erica?
I, I think we should talk to Hala about scheduling ourselves again because, we need to stay on their schedule.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. All right. And I'm sorry that I'm kind of doing this in this way, given that we don't have that many people on. Erica, would you be willing to follow up with Hala?
Yes,
Yes.
I'll email her. I'll copy you as the
Yeah.
chair,
Mm-hmm.
and I'll email her tonight.
Perfect. Perfect. Because then I can follow up if you don't hear from her. Okay. All right. Um, and then our next meeting item is, membership, co-chair nomination vote. So, I mean, obviously we don't have a lot of our members today, so I think we're going to need to table the kind of chair nomination and vote till the next meeting, because I want to make sure that, that's a discussion with like our full or fuller membership to give people opportunity if they do want to um, be a co-chair for them to be able to say, as much and obviously why they want to be a co-chair. Because obviously for me, I definitely need a co-chair. I mean, the co-chair has always worked really well. It was a model that started back with CSWG. Initially, though, CSWG, we only had one chair and it was just too much work. And then, we went into the co-chair model and that worked really, really well. And then with CSSJC, continue with the co-chair model. And then, when Allegra, was by herself, then I said, okay, I'll be co-chair. And Allegra and I used to work really well and kind of tag team a lot of things, kind of copy each other on, different issues. But a lot of times, if she responded, I wouldn't necessarily need to respond and vice versa, unless there was new information for us to kind of share. And, we work really well. And then also kind of like, tag teaming in terms of things. I mean, obviously with me and her too, but it's just like different strength and stuff like that in terms of co-chairs. A lot of times she would kind of take on well, I'm going to provide at least the first draft of document, and then I would kind of provide more the edits and more information added in and things and fine tune the documents just because of obviously, everything that I have on my plate. But that worked well, or I would respond in certain ways, she would respond in other ways, to different matters and things like that, based on our connections in the community and things like that. So for a co-chair, those are all of the things that, looking for in terms of a co-chair. Um, and also voices, right? Because, sometimes you need a voice like mine, and then sometimes you need a voice like whoever the co-chair, so Allegra needed a voice like Allegra, right? Like as an example. So that would be the same thing, right? To have different voices too as co-chairs, like two different voices, so that we can kind of apply the voice that would be most effective for the person or for the situation. Sometimes that's how we would kind of use those different strategies. Um, so, hopefully we can get a fuller members meeting, because obviously, we're meeting on a off week because we weren't able to meet last week. So I know our next meeting will be the 12th. Um, you know, oh, the set just came on, yay, because I know she was going to be able to get on after 8. Hey, Lisette, how you doing?
Hi, everyone. Sorry.
Mhm. No, no worries, because like you said, it was meeting, and we know you had another commitment already, so
Yeah.
which makes sense. No, I was just saying, so we're gonna table the co-chair vote until our next meeting. But I guess if I can get just like a quick poll that our next meeting is going to be on the 12th of August. As of right now, are all of us on here able to attend on the 12th of August?
Yeah.
Okay. You too, Anna? Oh, you're muted.
I believe so.
Okay.
Yep.
All right.
Just
So
checking.
just yeah, to get a quick poll, because then hopefully Everold can, and Bridget can too. Um so that then we can do the vote at that point, because like I said, I really, really need a co-chair, because it's too
Mhm.
much to be on one person.
Can I ask you,
Mm.
without you divulging any names, have you had anyone who's shown interest?
Yeah, I have had someone who's shown interest.
Good, good,
But we'll see though, you know. But
good, good.
hopefully, everyone think about it. I mean, obviously it is. I mean, it's taking on more tasks and stuff like that. And as you all know, you take on, also like presenting at the town council meetings and different things like that. Um, but um, but obviously it's an important, role for our group. So other questions? So the other one is just around membership. Oh, Lisette, did you have something to say?
No.
Oh, okay, sorry. Was around membership. So right now we are down one member. Um, Unfortunately, Allegra has, moved on to doing other exciting things with her family. Um, so we do want to kind of think about, some recruiting, to see if we can, find other members, another member for CSSJC. Um, I know that in the past we've asked, I mean, I doubt it though, if we're going to be up for kind of member interviews and everything, since they just did one, because I know they have a bunch of other committees. But obviously it doesn't hurt to ask, I guess, as to when they would be looking at, you know, because usually what they do is that the town does is that they'll get a few applications and wait, to get a good, pool of people, and then they'll do the interviews at that point. But I guess I could, when I contact Paul around why, around the Youth Empowerment Center, I could also ask him about the membership process to see, if they've gotten any applications, and then to see, if they've put anything out there that we need another member. Um, because also, like I said, though, the important thing will be for us to also recruit. We need to recruit people, good people to apply, and people who, are going to be advocates, people who are going to obviously feel very passionate about these topics, and, have the time. Most importantly, too, have the time. Because if you get on and then you're not able to attend the meetings, then, you're not as helpful to the group, you know? Um, so, but Erica?
I think it's a good idea, you just checking with Paul or
Mhm.
maybe Angela, because they sometimes do sit on applications, and then
Mhm.
you hear from applicants that they've put it in and they've heard nothing, and there's nothing more
Mhm.
frustrating than wanting to volunteer and not being responded to. I know I spoke to one person at the Human Rights Youth Recognition event, and he was very, very gung ho, and I sent him the application. So I know at least there's one person who might have actually applied.
Who was it?
And hmm,
Who was it?
am I allowed to say?
Oh,
Yeah, I don't think we
well,
should.
there was somebody that was there also that I also saw at the Juneteenth
Oh,
celebration who also turns out to, yeah, be a known entity to someone who's on the CSWG, who I'd also encouraged as a youth
Yeah,
leader
we
to,
shouldn't say their names because obviously, it goes through a selection process. Some
yeah.
people get selected,
right,
others
right, right.
don't, that's the
Yeah,
thing. But you all can,
yeah.
talk offline in regards to it.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to say there was also an ex-professor from UMass that I used to work with a long, long time ago, and she was also interested. So I think I need to push her too to apply.
Mhm.
Mhm.
Mhm. Exactly. Yeah. Because it would be good. Like obviously I was excited when we were at full membership for for a few
Month.
weeks or a month.
Mhm.
And now we're back to not being full membership. So but
I'm wondering, can we expand our membership? Is there like a bylaw we need to have or something? Because I think it would be worthwhile to have more than just one more member. I think if we had
mhm,
a few more, then we would actually be able to have good subcommittees.
mhm, mhm. Yeah, I mean, I think we'd have to kind of figure that out. How we could do it. Maybe when you reach out to Hala, you can ask her that. In terms of how we could expand our membership because I know right now it's 7 members, and one was supposed to be for, is supposed to be for youth, but obviously that's been difficult for us to find a youth member who's what, has the time to commit to CSSJC. We have had youth members in the past, but they either show up to a meeting and never show up again, or some of them have not showed up at all. So,
I
um,
I also had spoken with Becky Demling about because she's been doing the morning movement and
mhm.
that and has a really strong pool of youth who are pretty engaged there about if she could recognize any candidates. And then she also had recommended, and I'd sent an email out. I just right now sent a follow because I hadn't heard back, but Dwayne Shamble at the school system, who also does a lot of work with youth. So she'd recommended that he would be somebody that also might do that. So I'd been trying to push on that part because especially for the youth center, I think it would be really helpful to have a really engaged
Mhm.
young person.
No,
Mhm.
that would be great if we
Yeah.
can get, like you said, I mean, I think the operative word is engaged and
Yeah.
also able to attend the meetings. Because, like,
Right.
even like, I have my son, who's 16 years old and would be awesome for this. However, he's a soccer player and he's, you know what I'm saying? So he's always at practice. He's always, he has part-time job, he has this and that. So he wouldn't have the time. So that's a thing. It's kind of like, young people that yes, are wonderful, leaders and, would speak up, would be able to do all that, but have the time to commit to at least because for them, for a youth, I would just say just once a month. You know what I'm saying? I don't even know if we would expect them to be like on committees and all of those things, but just to have their voice in our meetings would be so incredible, because it would just bring that other slice, to our discussions, which would be just incredible. I would love to have a young person
Yeah.
be part of our group.
I
Um,
wonder if we would consider having two youth share a position, and that way they could tag team if one couldn't make it. I mean, the responsibility would be is that they have to share the information.
mhm.
But it's just something to consider because that way they could, like co-chairing, sharing, they could share a
Mhm.
position. And so if one couldn't make it, then the other could make it.
Yeah, and I think why don't you ask that of Hala because I'm not sure if we could do that or not, but that's a great idea, if we could get like, maybe they can alternate meetings or something like that, so that maybe if they're coming on bi-monthly, that might be a better way. And like you said, then they would just have to share information or kind of make sure they're um where is it reviewing the recording, before their time to me or what have you, so. Yeah, but that would be a good idea to see if we could get a young person on. But yeah, it would be incredible if we were able to get a young person, you know? Okay, great. And then we've already kind of talked about subcommittees, but I don't know if Erica, Anna, you want to add anything else in terms of subcommittees? Because I already know, like, obviously, we're kind of doing a subcommittee for the response to the GOL on the Resident Oversight Board. But I think that's the only one right now because the other ones is still kind of like more Anna's doing this, Deborah's following up, Erica's following up, you know? So I don't know if you all want to talk anything else in regards to that.
Well, I just want to say that, at the retreat before last, we did talk about subcommittees, and we actually had they were small, but we had two. And I know Lisette, you and Everil and I, we talked about really specifically about trying to engage Chief Ting and trying to get him to come here. And I know Everald had actually met with them and wanted to collect data, but we haven't gotten that far. I think we need to rethink that subcommittee. So, I mean, I think there are so many things we could do. And one, of course, we had talked before, which is CRESS and really putting our full force and focus on CRESS.
Mhm.
So that that's definitely one of the subcommittees that I think would be really important. The Youth Empowerment Center and the Multicultural Center is another really
Mhm.
important. But I just think we need more members to actually make it viable. Because even just our small group taking on these different small tasks that will have an end date, like by August 11th we'll be done with the GOL. The subcommittee, I think, really would give us sort of a guideline. Like I know that at the last retreat, I agreed to put together, maybe a funding timeline that supposedly the school committee advocates have, and I haven't had a chance to do that. If I had a subcommittee that keeps me on task, that I have to answer to, I think I'd probably be more more focused and more productive. So I really do think. Getting more members on board and then prioritizing what we really need to continuously do. A subcommittee could help do that without it always being the chair people.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah. Yeah, because really like the chairs, we're really not a subcommittee, like the co-chairs, we're really just kind of, obviously the folks that, everyone will contact and ask questions or send information, and then we're kind of either responding and or sharing information with you all. And so we're kind of like troubleshooters, problem solvers, and also kind of like the keepers of information to kind of, send out to you all and things like that. So yeah, so for us, it's difficult for us to be that, you know. So we do need to kind of like I said, so for the resident oversight board, so it was good that you brought up some of these kind of big ticket items that we discussed in the retreat, because really the resident oversight board now we do have like this committee, let's say, Erica and me, to kind of deal with this next task at hand, right, that we need to turn in by August 11th. Um, but also it would be good for people to think about so CRESS and the budget, right? Because we've identified through our discussion today that that's a main thing, right? And Anna asked the question of again, to Camille, like how many responders would really at least get you to a place where you could extend some of the hours and really be able to be responsive to, because obviously we're focusing on adding, making sure the dispatch numbers go up and so on and so forth. Um, and Camille said, 4 more responders, and then also an assistant director. We cannot forget that as key. So we would need a kind of a subcommittee to kind of be the subcommittee to kind of really think about that, right? And like what you're saying, Erica, really think about the budget season because we need the funding to be able to increase CREST in that way. And it's going to be pivotal and critical for CREST to get increased in that way in terms of the funding. And then the Youth Empowerment Center is the other one that needs a subcommittee because we do need the follow-up, right? In terms of, and Anna's doing some of the research, I'm contacting some of the folks, but we need dedicated people that are going to kind of assimilate that information, so that we're able to kind of, okay, this is what we have in terms of information, this is where we're at, and what's our next step, right? In terms of establishment of this Youth Empowerment Center. So I think, CREST, Youth Empowerment Center, and the Resident Oversight Board, I really like the three main ones. Obviously, we have the other CSWG like DEI and Multicultural Center and everything. But at least if we could be like, okay, these are the three things that we're going to focus on, right now, as kind of obtainable goals, right? That we could, you know, obtain kind of like some of the objectives that we want to get at, that would really move us forward.
And could it actually be, could the Multicultural Center be with the Youth Empowerment Center? Since in particular, as you were mentioning, like if we're looking at space, that, and then I think the other, I had mentioned that Jill Breivik is looking at a couple of the other CSWG recommendations about stopping pretextual stops and things like that. That maybe the resident oversight board could also be looking at, like if there's a subcommittee looking at that resident oversight board, that also putting those sort of policy things together with that.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think ideally that would be good, but it's just in terms of bandwidth.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Our bandwidth,
Yeah.
as Erica's stating, is just like, we just because we're just we're volunteers at the time. So I'm just trying to see what we can actually do,
Yeah.
But I think it's a good idea to obviously, as we're kind of talking about these big ticket items like CREST, Youth Empowerment, Resident Oversight Board. So youth empowerment, yes, bring in Multicultural Center, but the focus needs to be youth empowerment. And because it was adopted by the town council, Multicultural Center hasn't even been adopted by the town council. But yeah, we still continue to bring it in, right? And say it needs to be adopted, budget needs to be put in place, location, right? Even if we just earmark it, even though it's not, you know, um, kind of adopted by the town council, we could still say, hey, we need a location for it. You know what I'm saying? Just in the, just to make sure we've kind of reserved the space. So yeah, wonderful. But our first battle needs to be the Youth Empowerment Center because we have more leverage with the Youth Empowerment Center,
Yeah.
And then the pretextual, you know, search and everything, which is part of our
Sure.
CSWG recommendation, consent searches, pretextual searches. Yeah, we can, but like I said, right now, our
Yeah.
fight.
Well, I particularly bring up those ones because Councilor Breivik is planning on moving forward with putting forward a bylaw. So if we can even just do that, as we don't have to lead that, we can be supporting her in doing that.
Yeah. Oh no,
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, that would be great. Yeah. And I hope she does because again, we brought that up in the meeting in June
Yeah.
as one of the things that have not been accomplished based on the CSWG recommendations. So yeah, so that would be great. So I think folks want to think about it and then maybe, for next time, at least if we can have like two people kind of be, the folks kind of thinking about CREST and then two people for the Youth Empowerment Center. And we already have two people with the Resident Oversight Board for this next, task that we need to do. Then, it would be good, but we can kind of, have more of a discussion, the next time. All right. Okay, so I think any other comments, thoughts, questions before we move on to the next item?
I don't know if this is on there or not. Eventually having a conversation about meeting in person.
So you're saying like to have a meeting in person, that's not our retreat?
Well, that will be our retreat in September, but to
Mhm.
have maybe we should have a conversation about that in September. But just maybe a couple of times meeting in person, maybe even if it's before meeting with town council, just meeting in person. I think meeting in person, I know just my experience with meeting everybody at the retreat has really, I think, provided more cohesion and more connection with everybody on the committee. Bridget's a new person. I don't know Bridget.
Mhm.
And if we get more members on board, it just might be a really great way to just sort of be together a little bit more. And then,
Mhm.
I know that, it's open, our meetings are open to other members of the community. And sometimes it's an opportunity for them to also get things off their chest that they might not want to have in a public space. It is a
Mhm.
public space because it'll always be a public space according to open meeting law, but maybe not recorded for, the rest of their lives.
Mhm.
Or
Mhm.
conversations before or after that can be a little more uh, candid for the public, how they know how to find us and talk to us.
Yeah. So one first thing is that as you stated, we do have a date for the retreat. Can you share that so that what's the date, Erica?
Yes, it's Saturday, September 24th, and we're doing it the same time, same place. So let me just make
Wait, you said
sure.
Saturday the 24th
Oops, wait,
or the
nope, nope.
26th?
The 26th. Thank
Okay.
you.
Okay.
Thank you. It is the
Okay.
20,
Thank you.
Saturday, the 26th. Yeah, that's why I should have looked at my calendar beforehand. Yes, so 9 to 1 as usual, 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. is what
Mhm.
we usually have. Um, we don't have a budget because Cress has no money. Um, Something we
Another thing to advocate for.
Right, exactly. Well, I mean, we also advocated for budget for ourselves, and that didn't go
Yeah.
very far.
But no, but those are some of the questions that we pose though. So
Right,
if
it
Paul
is.
doesn't respond, we need to follow up with those. Those
Yeah,
are
and
some
I
of
know
the,
his response prior where, oh yeah, work with DEI and Crest, but if they have no money,
they have no
then
money.
yeah, they're the bad people who then say to us, well, we have no money. So it
Yeah,
has to, then go back to Paul to make them
exactly.
responsible. So yes, so we do have the retreat. And I know that Hala and Angelica also had said that they wanted to continue being part of this.
Mhm.
So I think September's probably gonna roll along really fast. So maybe we need an agenda item for August, because that's the month before September, about what's our focus.
Mhm.
Um,
Mhm.
yeah, so
And
if I can ask,
are you still willing to be the point person for the retreat and all of those things
yes,
like you've done in the,
yes, yes.
okay.
Just so
Do
you
you need
know,
do you need any other help in terms of like a subcommittee for that or?
no, I think you know what, I will in my email to everyone about what we're doing with with the ROB, I'm just going to put
Mhm.
a PS. This is our date for the
Mhm.
retreat. Be
Mhm.
ready to come up with items for
Mhm.
discussion in terms of structure at the next meeting.
Okay.
Let's put on the agenda structuring the retreat for the next meeting, and then I can take that and work on that after our next meeting.
Mhm.
Um, so I think that'll
Okay.
be good.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
Um, And I think like, how we did it last time, I think worked really well. And like you said, Hala being there and Helika in terms of having her, facilitate because we're building, she has that institutional knowledge in terms of who we are and things like that. And we'll kind of continue to build with her. And hopefully we can, do a stipend again. But again, as you said, we have no budget, but to be able to get food and a stipend for Angelica so that we can kind of, do the retreat because I think it worked out really well. In terms of meetings in person, so my only reservation, but so I want to know how we could do it, is obviously, I want to make sure though too that our meetings are able to be, accessible so that people can listen in and that it can be recorded because a lot of times people aren't able to attend and then they look at our recording, you know what I'm saying? So if we do have a month where we just in person and folks come, but there's no recording, there's no anything, folks might feel a little bit out of the loop. So part of me kind of thinks like we could kind of, when we do want to have an in-person, maybe meet twice in that month, maybe do a regular Zoom meeting and then we do another meeting, where it's in person. And then we invite the community and things like that. And then whoever comes and then, and then we could do that maybe, bi-monthly or quarterly or something like that. So that then we give that opportunity, and it's an opportunity for us to meet in person, but also an opportunity for the community to come out. But I just don't know if I want to like just skip a month type of thing, on Zoom.
Hmm.
Because I think folks really rely on, our Zoom meetings to kind of get the information and things like that.
Yeah. Yeah, well, we have to figure out how to do hybrid meetings because that might really work as well. Um, Also, I mean, I know minutes are not the same as recordings, but there will always be minutes because that's required by law.
Yeah.
So, yeah,
But it's not the same. Yeah.
no, it's
And
not
I
the
look at
same.
our meeting minutes, it's like very obviously high level, type of information. This is what we talked about, but no details.
Mhm.
So I guess in terms of that, do we want to kind of at least tentatively think about, so we're meeting in July, then we're
This is July.
meeting, yeah, no, that's what I said. We're meeting like right now, July. So we met in July. Um, so then we have August. So August 12th, we're going to be meeting. Do we want to schedule another meeting like, end of August, or I know beginning of September because of school starting and all of that would be difficult. And then we have our meeting on the 26th, and we would be meeting on the 9th for our regularly scheduled meeting. So yeah, so it really would be like kind of like end of August if we wanted to kind of schedule an in-person meeting before our retreat. Um, I don't know if people want to do that, like maybe the week of the 24th. And I don't know if we want to do it, it would have to probably be like a Saturday, so that if we were going to invite the community.
Yeah. So I think August is going to be a little too hard. So even though I raised it, I think my gut reaction is let's discuss this at the retreat. Because I think it's going to be a little too hard with vacations and kids starting. I don't have kids, but I do have a son who's bringing his grandson here. My grandson, is coming for a few weeks before school starts. And so I'm just wondering, it's going to be vacation, it's going to be transition time. If August at the beginning of September is too difficult, and we just start with our retreat, which is in person, and then we make a commitment, even a schedule for the rest of the year of what we want to do and just try to keep to it.
The only thing is though, and we should talk more about it, but I just want to get like a date. So yeah, August out, September really out and stuff, because then we're meeting in the retreat. But I would want us to at least hold a tentative date, and then we can talk more, right? And then we can release the date if we don't want it. You know what I'm saying? But I
Sure.
want us to at least have a tentative date. So let's say if we go into October, we're meeting on the 14th of October, but we could meet, in person, the end of October if we wanted to. But what are people thinking though? Are we going to meet is on a Saturday that's what I would think, right? We'd meet on a Saturday for in person so that the community can come out. Because if we do it after work, like after 5, I don't know.
So with the like town council and school committee, they do that as well because I know that weekends can get tough for families that have various soccer
Mm.
and games and sports and things like that. I was also wondering, it might be worthwhile to check in, would it be Angela Mills, like to see if there are other um, committees that do either hybrid or in person other than town council or school committee, and to see how they go about doing that.
Yeah, we could definitely ask them that. Um, but going back to like a tentative meeting though, so you all want to do it like during the weekday, is what you're saying? Like maybe like 5:30 on a weekday?
I'm open to either. I don't have young children. I don't have a lot of uh, dependents on me. So I would defer to people who have children or other people that they have to take care of.
I would say that if we are meeting in person and we plan on still having a Zoom meeting, that it
Mhm.
wouldn't having a meeting during the weekday after work. Maybe that could work. Since I don't think they would be in depth like a Zoom meeting would be. For me personally, I start school in September, so I'm gonna be extremely busy, which obviously I will make it work. But Saturdays are almost out of the question. Um, I can make it work, but weekdays, if we're doing in person and on Zoom, might be a little bit better.
Okay. But which weekday would work for you? Because since you're gonna have schedule, classes and stuff like that.
As of right now, the only weekday that does not work is Thursday.
Yeah, maybe Thursday. All right. I mean, we could also just keep it at like if we did like the 28th, we could just say, well, I don't know if we want to do like 5:30 on the Wednesday, the 28th, so we
Hmm.
keep it on the Wednesday. Um, but do it a little bit earlier because, I'm assuming people need to go to dinner and I don't know if we'd be able to get food and because since we have no budget. So probably be like a shortened kind of meeting, you know what I'm saying? It wouldn't
Yeah.
be a long meetings. Like you said, it would be a more abbreviated kind of meeting because it's be the
Hmm.
second meeting. So maybe we would do it like 5:30 to like even like an hour, 5:30 to 6:30 or 5:30 to 7, the latest,
Hmm.
you know, and then people could go
Could we do
home.
that too during the weekend? Like maybe
Oh,
have like instead of a 9 to 1 p.m., do like a 9 to 11 a.m.
no, we could, yeah, because we would
Right.
definitely have to do like an abbreviated one.
Hmm.
Again, like an hour and a half. I think an hour and a half probably tops. Um,
Okay.
so yeah, we could do it in the weekend, but I don't know, obviously we got to think about everyone with,
Hmm.
childcare and things like that. I mean, I could do that, but could some of the rest of you do that? If we did it like, or even like 10 o'clock, 10 to like 11:30.
I won't know until like the soccer schedule comes out, what
Mm-hmm.
days that's at what time. That's the problem. And it's the reason that weekday afternoon evenings are easier with that is it's much easier for me to like arrange for somebody to take a kid to practice or something like that than a game that could be home or away or this or that or whatever. There's a number of people
Right.
in that position.
All right. What about the 28th then? So that Wednesday, 5:30 to 7. Just as a tentative, we can obviously cancel it, but just so we have something so that we can talk about that when we go to the retreat. Would that work for folks right now?
This was October, you said?
October,
Hmm.
October. Yeah,
Yep.
28th,
Sure.
five
Yep.
thirty to 7 p.m. Because I
Yep.
mean, like because you're right. I mean, even for me, and I don't even know for sure because my son's practice schedule isn't out too, soccer schedule. So I may not even be available. But at least we have that on
I
as a
did just do
tentative.
a quick look also on the website, and it looks like the Council on Aging does hybrid meetings in the library room at the town hall.
Hmm.
Um, and the Cable TV Advisory Committee sometimes does. So there are committees that are doing hybrid.
Okay.
So it might be worth seeing if we can figure that out.
Hmm. Hmm.
So the library, that's interesting because the only way they could do that is, I mean, we've tried to do it when I was on the Amherst Municipal Affordable Housing Trust, and we didn't have any technology except a phone. Generally, what we were told is the town council room would be the best to have a hybrid meeting because they have everything set up there already.
Yeah, no, I was just scrolling through the that meeting
Yeah.
schedule and seeing ones that had a
Yeah.
location and a Zoom, and that's what it said. It said the library room at the town hall.
Hmm.
Maybe they've gotten,
Cool.
I have no idea.
All
So
right.
I wouldn't
I'll
mind. I can like pop in at some point and see if I can like catch somebody's ear to ask about it.
Well, what I can do is that when I do the email to Paul and Angela, I'll CC Angela, um, I can ask them about the hybrid meetings and
Sure.
how town committees do it and stuff. Um, because then, yeah, if we could do a hybrid meeting, then we could possibly even have it during our regular
Yeah,
meeting, and then just have it. But for now, since we don't know if we have that potential or not, let's just have this date as a tentative, you know?
sounds good.
Because sometimes we'll talk about things and then we'll never end up doing anything. So that's why I was like, let's just put something on the books
I think that's a great idea.
right now. But Okay, awesome. So my time is running out because I need to go pick up my son at driving school in like a few minutes.
Whew.
So let's move to the next agenda item, which is public comment. Uh, Not sure if there's anyone in the public that wants to. I see one person. Hello.
Hello, hi everybody. Hope you can hear me. Hope everybody is well. This is Lauren. My last name is Mills, and I'm a resident of the South Amherst. Um, I want to thank you guys for the work that you are doing for justice. And I always wish that I had cut the first public comment, but I wanted to stay off because I do have a lot of things on my mind. One being, just the current news, the situations that are occurring with ICE. And I am still very concerned about our community, the youth in the community, and why, things haven't been able to move forward. I have had two older sons who I feel at certain points of our 9 years of living in Amherst have, been targeted. So I would really hope that, we could move forward in having more community members able to share their experiences and somehow document those experiences. So there is that to give to the town council and in these meetings when you're discussing needs for, a resident oversight board. And some of the things that I have dealt with that would really be helpful for young people. Every time summer comes around, I try to figure out what my kids are going to be doing for the summer. And with all the higher education, the university, the colleges here, there's a lot going on the campuses, but they're very expensive. And then also, even with the town services, I know they do discounts and things like that. But to me, those have not been a fit for my kids. And, once your kids, start being in high school, the summer needs to be a time for them to not just have fun, but to gain some responsibility. And I know there's an Upward Bound program at the university, but I think I was told today that is really for inner city youth to come to Amherst. So it just seems very lopsided that the youth, the BIPOC youth in Amherst don't really have the programming that they need that is affordable and also is going to help them with the skills that they need, that it's not just like going to camp. I did find, and I'll try to make my comment a little shorter, but I did want to share that I have gone to Springfield to have my other child attend a summer program, and there's a really great space in Springfield called Make It Space. They have a bike shop there. They have a 3D printer that they do, work with the community. They have art supplies. They have fabric and sewing machines. And so, again, I see all these, things that are happening in other communities, and I just still wonder, what is exactly the problem? It just feels like there has to be more community input and more planning. because even if there was like one one location that the town would spearhead, such as the school that you were talking about, the Wildwood school, it always seems like the town kind of does things their own way, and I just really feel like the community needs um, to lead in a youth empowerment center. So I would also hope that maybe the Hampshire College property that could be looked at too. I just feel like there's always going to be opportunity, but there really has to be some planning. And I just wish that, you know, whatever the situation that has continued in the town, I wish it could be resolved, because it really, to me, feels neglectful that, you know, my family has been here for 10 years and you have nothing, no center for youth to go to. It just doesn't feel right. So, I mean, that's pretty much, you know, all I wanted to say. That the last thing too is that I've looked at what is going on in Northampton as well, and they have a youth commission, and I really would hope that maybe we could adopt something like that, because I do feel like the youth, you know, are missing opportunity to participate in these plans and to be engaged. So just thank you for all your work, and hope my comment is helpful.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it. And then we have Miss Pat.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yes, we can.
Thank you all, as always, for your time, your commitment, and cooperation in the work that you do. I know it's not easy. I just want to comment very quickly, and I'll be very, very brief. So, in terms of the issue about membership, increasing it, I think and this is just my opinion, when I served on CSWG, we kind of settled on 7 members because of quorum in making decisions. I do understand the need for subcommittee. I think it's needed because you guys meet every month and it's a lot of time. This is just what came to my mind as I was, listening and watching tonight's meeting. Is, have you guys maybe thought about, there are residents who may want to do like a short-term project. They don't have to be member of CSSJC, but perhaps they might be interested in being a subcommittee to look into, buildings, for example, for youth empowerment and what that will look like. I'm just throwing, suggestion. Um, Also, in terms of youth representation, I think I cannot emphasize enough the value of youth in this committee, because with CSWG, while we had a high school kid, it's a kid that I know very well. When he's not able to make it for our meeting, I usually meet with him. He gives me, give me feedback when he was not able to attend. I think my suggestion would be for you guys to think more broadly in terms of youth rep. They don't have to be high school kid, college kid. I also consider the youth. Perhaps, I mean, we live in a town that, has colleges, a lot of resources. Perhaps, college kids that, can join, can apply if they get accepted. Perhaps it could be for internship credit for them, for one semester. Like every semester you have, a college kid who is interested in the work you guys are doing, just to be, to look beyond high school. Another thing is, let's see, my notes. Okay, so I mean, I'm glad that you guys will continue with co-chairs, because with CSWG, our first experience when the only chair that we had, resigned abruptly, and that's, made us to have co-chairs. So I'm so glad that you guys are sticking to that. And the last couple of things is just to thank everyone that supported Black Business Association and Sankofa with Juneteenth event. It was well attended. It was highly successful. So all our supporters, attendees, donors, like whoever, people who attended Juneteenth really reflected our town. People that you normally will not see are there, of all racial background, of all, social class. I mean, it was really, I was very humbled to have like different people show up. So thank you. Our performance, it was really, really nice. And the last thing is, I was so sad, like, all of you have already heard that our school superintendent resigned. And really, to me, for a Black woman, what is it that we didn't do right, to, retain her? We have white men behaving badly in this town and they keep their job. And also to read in the media that she got mixed review, really just, I didn't like it. I just want to put that out that I was very sad to hear that she's moving on next year. It's not a good reflection of our town. I feel like I'm missing something. That's it. I think so. Yeah, I think I covered everything. Enjoy the rest of your summer. If you guys, are you guys doing next month? Oh, okay. I might be around. Okay. And thank you, Deborah, for your leadership. Yeah. You guys are working very great together. Everybody. Let me stop talking.
Thank you, Ms. Pat. Appreciate
Yeah.
it.
How do I unmute myself?
Any other commenters? I don't see any other hands raised. Any items not anticipated? So for our next meeting, as I had said previously, we'll be meeting on August 12th. And we'll have the same agenda items plus the retreat. We'll be talking about the retreat at the next one. And then we'll just kind of, maybe we could say retreat and in-person meetings, maybe retreat and in-person meeting. And then obviously, as I did the last time, I'll send it out, and then if you all have other agenda items, I'll just add those. Okay. Okay. Being that there's nothing else, I think we are good to go. Thanks, everyone. It was great seeing everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have wonderful vacations, whoever's going on any.
Thanks.
Yes,
Yeah, I'm looking forward.
everybody, I think.
Thanks.
Take care.
Take
All
care.
right. Ciao, ciao.